Loki is now set up to be one of the most important characters in the entire MCU, but not as the God of Mischief. But why do I say this? Well, let's take a look at these two clips.
Where do I belong?
We're all writing our own stories now. Go write yours.
I can rewrite the story.
That's right, episode 5 is setting up the transformation of Loki from the God of Mischief to the God of Stories. I'm going to talk about exactly what that means, but first let's recap the episode and look at all the things that happen that lead me to believe that this is where we're headed. Things open up right where we left off in episode 4, except Loki now stands alone in an eerily empty TVA. As he walks the halls in search for the others, he begins time slipping, but before getting too far, he grabs a copy of the TVA operating manual, which comes in quite handy later in the episode. Next up, we see Loki time slipping to several of our characters in various timelines. Casey's in a branched 1962 timeline attempting to escape Alcatraz, where we see a genius callback to this scene in episode 1.
Give me the Tesseract or I'll gut you like a fish, Casey.
What's a fish?
What's a fish? How do you not know what a fish is?
Let's go! Hurry up! If they catch us, they're gonna cut us like fish.
Well done, writers. Well done. Hunter B-15's in a branched 2012 timeline working as a doctor, Mobius is in a 2022 timeline as a single dad and jet ski salesman, and Ouroboros is in a 1994 timeline as a scientist and sci-fi author. Loki attempts to explain the situation to everyone, none of which give him the time of day, except for OB. Loki tells him that he needs to travel back to before the loom was destroyed, and OB tells him, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Wait, no. Sorry, that's not what Obi says. He actually says it's not possible to time travel like that unless Loki can begin to control his time slipping. Loki then gives OB the copy of the TVA operating manual so that he can get to work on trying to build his own TemPad. Loki then slips back to Mobius at his home and tries to make him understand what's going on, but it's not until OB arrives through a time door that Mobius begins to take things seriously and agrees to go with Loki to round up the others. Loki then goes and retrieves B-15 and Casey, and they all go back to OB's place, or at least it seems like everyone, until Loki says there's one more, and he heads out to get Sylvie, who seems to be the only person that remembers the events that happened back at the TVA. It's from this point forward that we can really see where things are headed with Loki in his upcoming transformation to the God of Stories. Loki and Sylvie go out for drinks where Sylvie seems completely uninterested in helping Loki. She wants to leave everyone where and how they are, including herself, and Loki says Sylvie is selfish, and she asks him why he wants to restore the TVA. He confesses that it's because he wants his friends back, and Sylvie explains that Loki is also only acting out of self-interest and that he should go write his own story. Those words were very intentionally written in that exact way, and that feeds into the theory and the underlying message for this video, so remember those words, write his own story. Next, we see Sylvie unwinding at a record shop, and as she's listening to a song, her reality begins to turn to spaghetti. She then pulls out Kang's TemPad and heads over to OB's. They make a plan to capture everyone's aura in a TemPad, but at that moment, everyone begins to disappear. This is when Loki figures out how to control his time slipping and goes back to where he was just moments before and explains that he's figured it out. He says it's not about where, when, or why, it's about who. The episode ends with him saying, I can rewrite the story. Again, remember these words. He then slips back to the TVA just before the loom was destroyed in the last episode. So yeah, we could theorize a lot of different things about Victor's gonna be back and his spaghettiing and what that means for He Who Remains and all the different timelines, but I think the most important thing from this episode is this transformation of Loki into the God of Stories and how this is going to impact not only this show, but the greater MCU as a whole. Loki, the God of Stories, comes from the comic book series Agent of Asgard. The series portrays Loki in a more complex light than just the God of Mischief, which he is, of course, traditionally known for. In the Agent of Asgard series, Loki is shown as a multifaceted character with the power to influence and alter narratives, much like we're seeing in the show right now. The concept of Loki as the God of Stories extends to the idea that he can rewrite not only his own story, but also the stories of the world, reality, and even the Marvel universe itself. So I point you back to the specific words that they used when writing this episode. Sylvie tells Loki to go write his own story.
Go write yours.
And then, a few moments later, the last words we hear from Loki this episode, I can rewrite the story.
I can rewrite the story.
I don't think it's a coincidence that in both cases they talk about writing and rewriting, and they both use the word story. Honestly, we may have just witnessed the transformation from the God of Mischief to the God of Stories in this exact episode as he realized his powers that he now has over time and stories. In the comics, this transformation makes him a particularly powerful character within the Marvel Universe. Loki's awareness of his role as a character within a story allows him to break the fourth wall, much like we often see with Deadpool, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see this to some degree in the final episode. This is why I believe that what we're seeing in Loki right now is not only laying the groundwork for the future of the MCU, it's actually positioning Loki as one of the most, if not the most important central character in all of it. This episode was incredible and just continues to elevate everything, and I am beyond excited for the final episode. That'll do it for my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.